Once again, session of Hoodies the podcast. Test 1, 2. This is Hoodies. Let's do it, man. Live from the Skill Suite. Yo, coming at you, man. Yeah. Are we back? 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 Word. Peace, I'm Nagar Rashidi, and I want to thank you for pulling up to another dope episode of Hoodies the podcast. Word. Yeah. Listen, man, I want to thank y'all once again for pulling up, like I just said. Today is December 26th. So happy holidays to you if you're into the holidays. The weather ain't too crazy. It was beautiful yesterday. And again, I said this is December 26th, which means this is day one of Kwanzaa. Happy Kwanzaa. Habari gani. All right. Day one, Umoja, which means unity. If you want to go further into that, I would suggest you go ahead and hit the Googles. I'm going to be teaching my group this weekend. That's if we have a session. I know a lot of people are out of town around this time of year. So if we do, that's when I usually kind of retrain, if you will, my chess club. Everybody else, if you're an adult, look it up for yourself. You got a computer sitting right there in your pocket. You dig what I'm saying? I don't have a whole lot to say, man. I just hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's in good spirits. I say that because there's a lot of people who spent these holidays and such, even Kwanzaa, with certain loved ones who may no longer be here. So my heart goes out to all y'all. I know this is a sensitive time. I've said this a crap load of times. If you're feeling so depressed that you no longer want to be here, I'd advise you to dial 988, talk to someone, let them know how you feel, and I'm sure they can guide you in the right direction. I thank you in advance for making that call, and I salute you. You know what I'm saying? We want you to stick around, man. So yeah, man, if I have nothing else, so let's go ahead and get into this, all right? All right. All right, so check it. There's this term that I heard some years ago. I believe it was in a movie, probably some Italian mob type movie, where starts off with some sort of narration and they're describing a guy and they said he's this and he's that and he's that and it's this. A real man's man. Forget about it. That type of thing. It was one of the first times I heard the term a man's man. And then some years later, I would, run into a man's man, right? And then I found it kind of interesting because there are a lot of men and women, but a lot of men who's not even necessarily familiar with that term, right? And for those of you who don't know, a man's man is the type of man that other men don't necessarily talk about, but that type of man is looked up to by other men. You know what I'm saying? That type of man gets looked at as someone who has the answers. Maybe not all of them, but someone who can lead, someone who is capable, reliable. You understand what I'm saying? Let me give you an example because I can probably explain it a whole lot better than that. Back in 2014, something like that. Maybe early 2014, maybe early 2015. I had this one barber at my old location. His name was Frank. And I ain't gonna say for short, but he had a nickname. They called him Nitty. Dope name, right? Nitty. Frank was a man's man. Right? Frank was a man's man. What do I mean by that? He didn't take no shit off nobody, but Frank wasn't one of them rah-rah type of dudes. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have to beat his chest or grab his balls to, show everybody that he was, that he was a man or that dude. He didn't have to do that. He showed you through the work. He showed you through just moving the way he moves, right? Listen, if you was a young man or an older man for that matter, and you came walking into my establishment, and if Frank was taking you, like if you were walking, and if Frank took you and he saw you with your pants sagging where he could see your drawers, well, I did that too, but we ain't talking about me. Frank would tell you, hey, yo, my man, I need you to pull up your pants. And I'm saying that's significant because there's a lot of barbers who are too pussy to say it. There's a lot of barbers who are too afraid or too buddy with their clientele to tell them, or some of them just don't want to be looked at as an authority figure. Maybe afraid to come off as one for fear that it won't be received well. It won't be, they'll take it the wrong way and might want to, turn it into something else. Some people are afraid of that. I've seen it in action, right? So they won't say, hey, yo, my man, can you watch the language or pull your pants up? Frank, nah, he wasn't like that. Frank, he let you know right off rip. You know what I'm saying? Frank was that type of dude that if you came in there and your hair was really thin and bad, and this was right before the enhancements became a thing, right? Just like everything. I remember the curl sponge. That was something that you only saw on social media for a time, right? Until I got a hold of them. I used to buy them Jones in bulk. So that, and I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I won't be long. So I would buy the curl sponges in bulk, and not the real fat ones, but the slim ones, which nobody around here had, right? So I'll buy them in bulk, basically at like $4 a pop, and I would buy about 75 to 100 of them, $4 a pop. Great, right? And then they would retail for $15. They would retail for 15. Some people sold them for 20, but I sold them for 15. Whew. Boy, I used to eat. Oh man, I sold curl sponges, hats, this, that, and the third, right? And I'm going down a rabbit hole. I'm out of it now. But right before the rabbit holes, boy. Right before what the hell that is? The enhancements got big. There was some clientele that will come in, hair super thin, like damn near nothing's there. And while some barbers would just cut an imaginary edge up, Frank would tell them right off rip, nah, fam, you need to cut that. It's time to go bald. And some clients in his chair will be kind of taken aback by that. Like, listen, there's a lot of men who aren't ready to let it go. And Frank didn't care. Frank did not care. Frank, hey, you need to cut that shit. Dead ass. I had an apprentice in that shop. And I worked with him. I ain't gonna say his name. It was a weird guy. I worked with him. I used to have him do a haircut and then edge someone up. And I would look at the edge up and see that it was not straight. So I would instruct my apprentice to turn, your client around. Well, no, I would turn the client around facing the mirror. And I would say to my apprentice, look at that edge up, tell me what you see. And dude would look at the client, look in the mirror, look at the client, look back in the mirror. I don't see nothing. And I'll be like, how you don't see nothing? Like this, certain people just aren't cut out for certain things, because a lot of us would like to think if you keep trying that we'll get it. And typically that is the case, but not all the time. And especially for this brother. So in between clients, of course, I went and I finished up that client, fixed the edge up, took him about his way, and still gave my apprentice the money. What are you going to do? So in the back, I had a little lunch area in the back, and Frank and the apprentice is back there. And Frank, not mean, not, nigga, no, none of that. Frank was just straight up. Frank was just like, man, you can't cut. This ain't for you. You can't cut. Frank was brutally honest with people. He was brutally honest, told you exactly what you needed to be told, which is something a lot of folk lack because for a few reasons. They're too busy trying to be their friend. You know, some folk got this, well, I don't want no bad karma, even though that's not even how karma works. Way off. But a lot of folk are just reluctant to tell people the truth because, oftentimes when we tell people the truth, we get a negative reaction from that. Frank never did. Whenever Frank gave an honest critique, even if it was brutally honest, and some folk may have been shocked, Frank never got pushback. Might be because he was a tall dude, he was an ex-basketball player as well. You understand? Frank was every tool, at least one's needed to fix things around my establishment. Frank knew how to do that. He knew how to cut blinds. He knew how to plane the bottom of a door. Things I didn't know how to do. Frank was the type of dude that if you locked in with somebody, like really locked in with her, your girlfriend, your lady, your wife, whatever, right? And if you cared for her and loved her enough to where you brought her by the shop and introduced her to the fellas, this, that, and the third, I don't even think it really mattered if, you were one of the barbers there or not. You could be a client that he, got familiar with. If Frank saw you out with something else or got wind that you was like, holding space for a side piece, holding space for a bop. I ain't saying Frank would be all self-righteous and be all up in your face. Hey, no. Frank was the type of dude, he would discourage you from it. Like, come on, fam. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that shit, fam. Don't even do that. It ain't even worth it. Frank was just that type of dude. Frank had the type of energy that made everybody in the room just a tad bit more mature. You know what I'm saying? I think we all benefited from having Frank around. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Just because I felt as though he was a man's man doesn't mean that he was perfect. He had a couple ways about him that, you look and be like, kind of like when you look up to your father or your grandfather when you're a child, right? And you get a little older and you learn more things about him. You think, okay, he's still that guy, but there's certain things about them that I don't want for myself. So Frank even had those kind of ways too. Frank even got respect by his lady, right? What do I mean by that? You know how, like, if you tell your woman, especially a black woman, and you tell your woman, right, shh, or hey, shh, damn well when you do that shit, even if she don't say, who, excuse me, who the fuck you think you talking to? Whatever women do with the neck, whatever women do, and at best, at minimum, a woman will at least that shit women do with their eyes. I saw Frank do that to his lady once. I ain't gonna say her name either. Hey, shh. And do you think she gave a face? Do you think she did that? Nope. When he said shush, she was. She didn't look side to side to her left or her right. Oops. My bad. She didn't look side to side or to her left and her right to see who was looking. She did it. In fact, that wasn't the only time. There was another time we had the Super Bowl party at the old shop. We had a Super Bowl party. I believe it was the the Carolina Panthers and New England Patriots. We had people there, some elder clients. Frank was there, of course. Todd, which was one of my barbers. A couple other barbers. Some other young ladies was there. Some which came to see me, and whatever. So the Super Bowl's over. We're cleaning up, getting ready to get out of there. And I don't know what she was doing, but he told her, "Yo, what you doing? Yo, get in the car." No lip, no, babe, I'm doing it. Damn, babe, what's your problem? No lip, no nothing. She kindly backed up, stopped doing whatever it was she was doing that caused him to say, "What you doing?" And she pushed outside that door and got in a fucking car. Frank never came off abusive. No, nothing like that. Frank just had respect by his woman. He had kids, but his kids didn't live here or don't live here. Well, he ain't even here now, but at the time his kids didn't live here. So in the home that it was staying in was just him, his lady, and her offspring, her kids. He had their respect. And I know he had their respect or demanded their respect because one time I was cutting little dude. This was before Frank came to, he's actually from Chicago too, only he's from the west side. And forgive me if I'm all over the place because these are old memories and I'm trying to spit them out before I forget them. So forgive me if I'm talking too fast and I'll bring all of this home. At least I'll try to. But anyway, so before he actually made the permanent move, he came to visit from Chicago, to the shop, brought his lady's son in, right? Which I thought was cool. You don't have her bring him, you bring him. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so I'm cutting dude's hair, me and him chopping it up, we talking, and then little dude decided to chime in. See, Frank was a little old school too because he let little dude know, whoa, hey, ain't nobody talking to you. Ain't nobody, and little dude, he stopped talking. Let him know, whoa, basically, this is grown folks conversation. Fuck is you doing? Nah, chill, kid. Chill, champ. Fuck out of here. Ain't nobody talking to you. This is grown folks conversation. And dude didn't, man, you know how young men can be when there's a man coming into their mother's life. You know what I'm saying? And I think the two of them may have dated before. Still not the point. Some young men will still have some animosity there. When another man comes in and starts telling him what he can and can't do, little dude put his head down, let me taper it back and do what the fuck I needed to do. That was Frank. A man's man. You know what I'm saying? In every situation, see, another thing, Frank, or should I say a man's man, is the type of man that you want to be, or should I say that you want by your side when shit gets real too. I remember one time I had this candy machine, like the gumball machine. I think it had like, I want to say 3 slots in it, gumballs, Skittles, M&Ms in each one. You put a quarter in, clink, 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 you turn it and get your shit. Same thing. So I was in a deal, me and talking too fast. Let me slow it down. These memories are coming in. I'm trying to spit it out. So myself and the owner of the machine had an agreement. Can't remember what the agreement was, but I was supposed to get a cut off what the machine made. He would come through every so often, drain the quarters out, count it out, whoop, and give me either half or some sort of percentage of it. So dude drops it off. He think he came back maybe a couple times. And then a long period of time went by. Where it ran out of Skittles, gumballs, and M&Ms. It ran out. Time went by. Listen, so much time had gone by that I had took the candy machine, I put it in the back, and was back there so long it started to collect dust, right? So Frank sees it, he's like, yo, whoop. Yo, man, how long has it been? Man, she better take the lock off that joint and put it back in the front and fill that shit up with some candy. All right, so I thought that was a good idea. Hey, it's been this long, shit, why not? So we took that lock off, put a new lock on it, filled it up with some candy, boom, right? And then we also looked dude up. I can't remember his name, I wouldn't say it anyway. We looked them up on Google. You put their name and age and you can figure out if they've been in trouble with the law. That's how I found out if anybody's been locked up recently. And it doesn't matter where either. And then sure enough, I put up his name. Sure enough, dude was in there for something crazy. He was locked up for something crazy. Something crazy enough to where we figured, he ain't coming out no time soon. He's not coming out. If you the Saudi, be like, oh no, he not getting out. He's not getting out. No time soon. Not for that. No. So hey, boom. So a few months later go by. I want to say about more than 90 days. Dude shows back up. He shows up looking for his machine. Fam, I want to say almost a year. Almost. So me and dude talking, and basically I'm telling him, yo man, this shit is mine now. This is mine now. You know what I'm saying? So dude felt as he should have, as dude should have. He should have felt some type of way. But listen to me. Remember when I said, Frank, a man's man rather, is the type of dude you want beside you when shit gets real. I ain't even say nothing. Frank went and locked the door because he knew shit was about to get real. So I ain't gonna say everything that popped off, but let's just say me and dude almost came to blows. At least until his girlfriend intervened, because she came with him till she intervened, and we ain't about to put our hands on no woman. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Right? And then in hindsight, we look back and we was wrong. We was wrong. Because it was homie shit. Yes, it had been a while. You know what I mean? Yes, it had been a while. But that was his shit. Let's just call it what it is. So, and then we was wrong also for locking the door. That might be called kidnapping. You know what I'm saying? I ain't say no names. I ain't say when. And it's been super long since this has happened. So we looking back on it, we was wrong. We should have just let him get his shit. Probably should have just said, fuck that, we get in the quarters that's in it, but you can take your machine. Because it had been that long. You should have at least said something. Have somebody come by and say something to let us know something. But it is his shit. Anyway. But that's beside the point. The point is, a man's man is somebody who can read the room and know what the fuck time it is. Frank was a man's man. You know what I'm saying? And another thing about Frank is that, because all these things I'm learning from him. He, like I told y'all, he's from Chicago, right? Only the west side. I'm from the south side. He also was a former shop owner. He had 2 other shops in Chicago. Hold on a second, y'all. That's dope. Sorry about that. What was I saying? Oh yeah. No, so another thing happened, or another thing that I noticed, is that Frank also cared about his appearance. He cared about his appearance. And you can Google, or if you're into it, chat GPT what a man's man is, and they'll tell you a lot of things I said here today. They'll say that a man's man is reliable and a leader, and someone that other men aspire to be like and look up to, and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. But what chat GPT doesn't talk about is appearance. And what do I mean by appearance? I mean, a man's man is not a big back. No, a man's man is not overweight. A man's man is not fat. Yeah, I said it. Yes, I said it. Look, man, believe it or not, or agree with it or not, you get more respect when you're in some kind of shape. I'm not saying Lou Ferrigno shape. I'm not saying Terry Crews shape, Dwayne Johnson shape. Nope. I'm not saying pro wrestler shape or boxer shape. I'm saying some type of shape. Listen, you can tell when someone is intentional about their appearance. You'll see it in their arms. Both, whether it's a man or a woman, you'll see it in their arms. You know what I'm saying? And look, a security guard or someone who's in a position of authority, who's got some guns on them, or is in some kind of shape. Again, I'm not saying bodybuilder type shit. You know when someone is in some kind of shape. You know it. You know it when someone's not in shape and they get in shape. Like, oh snap, you losing weight? Yo, you look chiseled. Yo, you been working out? You can tell. And notice every time people see that, so like say you were overweight or flabby or pudgy, whatever you want to call it, and people see that you've been putting the work in, your respect level, as far as I'm concerned, goes up a little bit. It goes up. And I'm going to say it's like that for everybody, because when people see that, people become inspired. When you see, I was talking about security guard, right? When you see a security guard or somebody who's in a position of authority, if they're overweight, a big back or fat, let's go with big back. I think big back, they usually use that for females. I'm not sure, but it's all interchangeable in here. It's for everybody. A big back who's in a position of authority, sometimes when I see that, I think to myself, it's a good thing for this brother or this person, right, that I got some kind of sense. Well, it's a good thing for me too, because if they got some kind of power with that, if they're in a position of authority, they got some kind of power, and I get to popping off, then they could probably inconvenience me a little bit. And I'm saying that because these young dudes don't give a shit. But listen, if you are in a position of authority, or say a security guard, the dude that's standing by the door before you walk into a club or a pub or something like that, you tend to respect that man more. You may not have noticed it, or you may have noticed it, or maybe you just don't agree with it. That's fine. This is my POV. When you are in some type of shape, you garner more respect. Because when you see somebody who's looked like they've been working out, you see them guns. And you see that, well, at least for myself, I think to myself, he must be a boxer. He must be into boxing. Even if he's not a boxer, he's training doing something. Maybe mixed martial arts. Whatever it is, that brother or even sister. Okay, and I keep saying brother or sister. I don't give a fuck who it is, white, black, purple, whatever. When you see them up there with some guns, standing at the gate, standing here, or a police officer, or this one or that one, you be a little bit more inclined to kind of, watch your mouth. Because whatever he's doing, he's intentional about it, and it shows. A man's man, according to my POV, is not overweight. A man's man is not overweight. Imagine being overweight and say you're in a 2-story situation and something happens to your lady upstairs. How fast you think you can get upstairs? Somebody locked themselves out. Hold on, y'all. Anyway, my light is off. Hold on. Okay, I could have still been talking while I had this on me, right? But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, this is probably not popular. It's probably not popular, and I don't much care. But you get more respect when you're fit. And I don't know if fit is the right word, because fit sounds like 6-pack and just tight. And no, I don't mean that. I mean some kind of shape. Whether you're male or female, you tend to get more respect when you're in some kind of shape. Oh yeah, I was talking about running upstairs and you're overweight. How fast you think you can run upstairs to tackle that problem if you're overweight? How fast? How can you be somebody help me? I don't know everything. Somebody help me understand. How can you be a protector? And you look down and can't see certain things. Your feet, your genitals, dead ass. Somebody help me understand. And be very, very clear. A man's man caring about his appearance isn't about being vain or flashy. Let's make that clear. This isn't about being flashy. Oh, yeah, look at me, look at them guns, nigga. Well, okay, all right, men kind of do that. We do that in the gym when we working out, or our son, look at that boy, look, what you can get that boy, look at that, go ahead, touch that there boy, go ahead, look at that, that type of stuff. But I ain't saying like in a I'm better than you type of thing, like you're this and I'm that type of situation. No, it's not about being flashy. A man's man, like good brother Frank, doesn't care about being big because I want people to, validate me or, worship me or think I'm this or that. No, a man's man, much like good brother Frank, uses his body as more like equipment, usable equipment. You see what I'm saying? It's about being functional, and how functional can you be if you're overweight, man? Can we keep it real in here? Let's stop pussyfooting and tiptoeing around. Now, some people may say, well, I think people should just live their life. I respect that. I respect that, champ. However, that's big bag talk. That's fat boy talk. Because what about the quality of that life? What about the quality of it, man? Sure, live your life, but listen. And look, flipping the label over, looking at the label, reading what's in it, sodium, sugar, cholesterol, trans fat, all these things, seeing whether or not there's gelatin, and if there's gelatin, it means it's pork. You know, doing all of that isn't about living till you're 180. None of working out, you know, being active, watching what you eat is not and we already know that diet is much more than about just what you eat and stuff like that. It's the company keeps what you watch. We've said it 1,000 times. None of those things, there's no vegan, no vegetarian, no pescatarian, no nothing who literally believes that they will live to be 200 years old if they eat this way. No, it's not even about that. It's about, while I'm still here in this dimension, alive in this dimension, while I'm still here, I want to be able to do any and everything I fucking want to do. And what we don't talk about oftentimes are the things that a lot of big backs can't do because they're big backs, because of their weight. I probably should have put a disclaimer out. This isn't about making fun of anybody. I'm not making fun of nobody. We're just having some real conversation here. You know, for people who say being big is body positivity, I admit I'm not even necessarily sure what the hell that even fucking means. Body positivity. What's so positive about being obese? That's not cool. That's not healthy. You know what I mean? It's not healthy. And again, I'm gonna finish on Frank. Pause. Sounded weird, but Frank was like that. Frank cared about his appearance. Frank stayed in some kind of shape. You know what I'm saying? Frank watched what he ate. You see what I'm saying? That is what I would refer to as a man's man. You know what I'm saying? And then even his biological, I didn't see all his kids. I believe his daughter came to the shop once. His son came to the shop. His kids love him. And that's another attribute of a man's man. When you have a relationship with all your kids, I get it, things happen, you know, the mother and this, that, and the third, right? So I'm not necessarily sure if this applies, but I tell you one thing, a man's man ain't got no kids running around here saying you did something to me. Or this, that, and the third happened. No, that's another rabbit hole that I choose not to go down. But a man's man knows that his real flex is his health, his relationship with his family. You understand? And being authentic. All these things that Frank let's say is, because he's still alive. He left my shop. He proposed to his lady. I believe they should be married, probably married now. They live in Atlanta, and I've seen him on the gram. He's still he's in a shop in Atlanta. You know, still got his shape. Frank's still Frank. Still got his skills. I learned a lot from Brother Frank. You know what I'm saying? This ain't dick riding. This is just giving credit what credit is due. And I needed an example. And that's the thing. That's the thing with our people. A lot of times we don't want to show people love. You know what I mean? We don't want to give people their flowers when they're here. But, yeah. And there a lot of... I'm about to go off into another tangent because... the people I was about to bring up, I wouldn't know if I haven't spent enough time around them to know if they were men's men or not. So I'm gonna leave it right there on Frank. This was supposed to be another short one, and I'm at 30-something minutes. I don't know what it'll come out to once I edit and chop and add and subtract and all this other stuff. But yeah, man. So yeah, a man's man. Now, before I end this and wrap it up, am I a man's man? No. No, I am not a man's man. I can say that, right? And look, I'm not saying that on some negative self-talk type of shit. I don't do that. In fact, I can't stand people who do. Listen, I get being down in the dumps and being sad, but the minute people start beating themselves up, I just don't understand. How do you get yourself out of a mental rut? How do you get yourself out of some mental quicksand by talking greasy about yourself? That's the most backwardest shit ever. If you tell yourself that you're a failure and that you nothing, how the fuck is that supposed to get you up out of? How are you supposed to rise up out of that? But anyway, that's another story. It's another story. So I'm not saying that out of some negative self-talk type of shit. I'm saying that because every man it's about knowing self, right? And the reason why I'm not a man's man, yes, I have a relationship with all my sons. Now, me and my oldest one fall out every now and then. We've fallen out, but the love has always been there. And look, we good now. But I pride myself, and in fact, that's a flex. I have a relationship with all my sons. And not just some flaky ass relationship. I'm talking ring, ring, ring. Hello? Hey, Pop, what's going on? Hey, I ain't want nothing. I just want to call you, tell you I love you. And I know I've said that on here a lot of times, but it warms my heart right up in here, man. You know, it's moments like that I say, wow, yeah, that's what's important. So I have that. Yes, I will. And look, it's not like I wasn't saying it before Frank came around, but I'm not going to act like Frank didn't make me feel empowered when he did it. Because that was someone whom had a decent amount of respect for the way he carried himself. And he did that. So I tell you, hey, we'll do language. Hey, put your pants up for me, please. You know what I mean? Now, granted, I don't have Frank's patience. I don't have Frank's patience. That, hey, shh. So okay, I don't have Frank's patience, and I don't have his type of respect. At least not the type of respect his woman has for him. I'm assuming they're still together. I'm a hope for the best. So yes, not like his woman has for him. No, if I was to, hey, shh, excuse me, I know I'm getting that. And if it's at minimum, I know I'm gonna get a like, I bet, nigga, we're gonna talk about this later. I don't have that, and I also don't have patience. I've seen men, a lady be either on the phone or in person, just bitching. And I was at the Wawa some years ago. This one brother, this lady was motherfucker. And he said, shh. And listen, she did give some lip, like, oh, be telling me to shush. And he was just, shh. And let's just say, by the time they got up to the register where, this things could be, rung up, she wasn't talking no more. I don't have that kind of patience. But look, at least I know it. At least I know it. If I'm getting and say it's on the phone, I've grown. See that's a trigger for me. But like I said, I've grown. So much so, I'll say, look, let's talk about this another time. We need to cool off. Let's talk about this another time. And depending on how bad the bitching is, let's just say nowadays I'll say, look, let's just get off the phone. There used to be a time I hung the fuck up. I'm not listening to that shit. I'm not listening to that. And look, just like alcoholics, drug addicts, and addicts of all kinds, the first sign of growth is to admit that you have a problem. And I don't know if I can say that this is a problem, but I just know that being bitched at, it's a trigger for me. You know what I mean? Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. Because my undisciplined self will start arguing back, and that's not the way men are supposed to conduct themselves. I'm growing. I'm you know what I'm saying? It's hard being a man. But yeah, that and look, being a man's man is subjective. Your list, that may look different for you who's watching this. A man's man may look totally different from what I saw, from what I deemed to be a man's man. You feel me? So you may have heard everything that I've said and thought it was the craziest shit ever. And that's what's up. That's what's up. We all have our own mind. I don't want everybody to think like me. You understand? But a man's man is someone that I ain't about to go through that shit again. I'm not going through that again. But yeah, that's what a man's man. Shout out to brother Frank. You know what I'm saying? My man Nitty. I learned a lot from Frank. He was the best barber I ever had. I learned a lot from him. That is, if we're talking a man's man, that brother in and out of the shop, to me, was a stand-up dude. Again, that's not saying that, that because you're a man's man doesn't mean you didn't have certain quirks that a person may look at and say, oh, nah, that right there. You know what I mean? But that doesn't take away, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't take away from who he is as a man's man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that. But no, I'm not a man's man, but that is the goal. That is the goal. At least one of them anyway. One of them. And I know me. I'll get there. Cause I know me. You know what I'm saying? Word. Man. So when I decided to come back and start doing these pods again, I was advised to make them really 10, 15 minutes, but I figured, nah, fuck it, I'll make it like 15, 20 minutes. But this is like the second time I've gone way over that time, which is weird because I didn't think I had that much to say. But anyway, before I get out of here, man, once again, I want to thank everybody for watching. Listen, I want to sincerely thank everybody for your likes, your subs, and in the comments, man. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for interacting. People tend to react a little bit more to the shorts. I take it any way I can get it. I appreciate that. Thank y'all for watching. Once again, anybody who's going through a thing, I want to thank you for still showing up. I salute you. You know what I mean? For still showing up even though you're going through something, man. And like I said before, if it's that rough that you don't want to be here no more, dial 988, man. Thank you in advance, and I salute you for that. Before I get out of here, I also want to give a shout out to everybody with a born day today. I salute you. New life, more life. You know the spill. You know what I'm saying? You're the only one with this blueprint. You know what I'm saying? So run it up. Do your thing. Depending on what your job is, you probably got some time off, so enjoy your birthday today. Word up. Yeah, man. That's about all I got. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna keep sending y'all some good energy. Y'all keep sending me some. And also, once again, happy Kwanzaa to you. Happy holidays if you get into them. And yeah, man, we're gonna get out of here. I'm the God Rashidi. This is Hoodies, man. Peace. Hey. This is Hoodies.